Almost every organization that I've worked in or with has had API call problems when it comes to Salesforce. It's probably the most consistent thing that I've seen. And dealing with it and figuring it out can be quite a headache.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
But not to worry, because in today's video, we're going to walk you through a few ways that you can tackle this problem that have worked for us in the past. First, we're going to look at how to get the applications that are actually hitting your APIs. Second, we're going to look at what kind of users you have set up to integrate and deal with Salesforce. And then third, we're just going to look at, okay, now that we know both of those things, how do we go about ensuring that we pinpoint which API logs are causing the problem and how to turn that one off. So hopefully these will all help out. Let's get into it. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Nick.
If you don't know who I am, I'm Graham Bischoff, sometimes affectionately known as Salesforce Yoda. I've been in the ecosystem for over 15 years, working for companies you may have heard of, like Yelp and Google. And I've also started my own consulting company. And now we help out lots of different companies, just like we're going to today. And one of the main problems that we see is folks just plugging away a bunch of applications into their Salesforce instance with little to no regulation.
What's up, pretty girls? See y'all when y'all get out.
What the was that?
WTF indeed. But a lot of executives, especially those of the trash panda variety, will get off a sales call and purchase something and be like, oh great, this is the latest and the greatest. And it's just so easy to integrate. Aw, kind of reminds me, holiday season's coming up. But what do we do when we hit that dreaded limit and APIs go over? Because quite honestly, like most of our clients don't even know they went over until something terrible goes wrong. Like they're missing data or someone's yelling at them about something that's not working properly. And we don't want that scenario. So let's get it set up so we at least know that we've hit the limit. One of the dumbest things I think Salesforce does is once you hit API limits within that 24 hours, it just like stops allowing API calls. It's literally one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I mean, what were they thinking?
How can you not care?
Like this.
Well, to be fair, they did give us a way to get notifications, and we'll walk you through how to set that up right now. All right, so got my trusty laptop here, and let's get into it. We're gonna go to setup, as we always do. And while we're in here, we're going to type in company, go to company information. You can also, if you have system overview still, you can go there. But they now show the API request right here. I'll highlight it for you. And that's how you know. So you can see your limit, and you can also see how many you've done in the last 24 hours. So it's the best way to know. But we're also going to go over here and add in some API usage notifications so we can know before we get close to hitting the list. Now, I gotta reset mine here, but normally it sets it to 85%. I like 75%, but just type in your username, look it up, click yes, and then I like 75%. Just give me a heads up, let me know things aren't going great, click save. You may want to do 90 or higher, just depends on how paranoid you are. I like to know at all times. And that's pretty much it. Okay, great. Now that we have notifications coming, we know where to look for everything. Step number one, checked off. Let's head to the next thing and make sure that we understand which applications all of these are coming through. And now we're gonna have to do a little detective work. So bear with me.
So you are a little lamb who has come to Cluzo for to learn.
First, we need to make sure we understand which applications are actually integrating with Salesforce. And that might be harder than you think. Most teams overseeing Salesforce really aren't actually always told by the other teams what applications they're using that might OAuth or integrate into Salesforce. Shocking, I know. As an executive who might not have been completely honest about everything that's going on and may have hid some things. I don't know. What a world we live in these days. But if you do have a trash panda of your own, then we may have to do a little bit more digging. Okay, so since all the integrations are going to run through users, there's actually this very useful table that exists that's attached to users called login history. And the best way to utilize that or figure that out is just actually download the whole login history records of all time through data loader or data loader.o or something along those lines. Unfortunately, we can't really use reporting for this, or at least there's not really good standardized reporting for it. If you're wondering why Salesforce did that, you probably ask them, although I think their answer would be something along the lines of,
Yeah, you fucked.
But nonetheless, you've downloaded the table now, and really you just need one column out of the table, which is the application column. And that really tells you everything you need to know. And we want to get a unique set of that specific one, because it's not perfect. It's kind of like...
Forget that! What the hell's wrong with them? Nothing.
But just filter the list to make sure it makes sense for the applications that are going to integrate into Salesforce. And there you have it. So you have a nice little list. These are all the applications that are sucking up API limits for you. But the real question is, which ones are doing the majority of the limit taking and which ones aren't really taking all that much? That we'll get into next. Okay, so now we have all the applications, but really that just gives us a lineup of suspects.
Hand me the keys, you fuck.
But which one is Kaiser Sose?
Because you're a cripple.
What I want to know is who's the gimp.
You know
Well, to figure out who is Kaiser Sose is kind of hard, actually. And honestly, you may want to sacrifice to the Salesforce gods. And by sacrifice, I mean, give more money. Because that actually does help solve the problem in this case. But before we do that, I'm going to walk you through a few other things that we can do that are free, that will potentially help you lay out a little bit better of a strategy. First, let's talk about how you probably set up all your integration users to begin with. And that was probably using the easy button, right? You're just like, hey, who's the most senior system admin who has all the permissions? Let's just use that user. That's the easiest one to go with. And hey, I've done it, no judgment. Got to make the CFO happy by not adding users, right? Well, it does come with some consequences. First, we'll talk about by doing that and running it all through one user, it's really hard to parse through like which application is hitting the API limit really hard because all of it's happening as that particular user. It's kind of like if the toilet gets clogged at your daycare and there's a million toddlers around and you weren't there to witness it, you have no idea. Like that's a tough case. Not even Detective Clouseau could solve.
like something that you corner.
Man, these toddlers, they bring a whole new meaning to FAFO. Seriously. Anyway, let's get back to our user setup and trying to appease the big man. First, let me talk about integration users. And this is a lovely little license that's API only, meaning you can't, click through it like a regular user, but it's a really good tool. And Salesforce a couple of years ago gave everyone 5 free licenses. So hooray! Except there's a few caveats. So first and foremost, not every integration can use it. Looking at you, Zendesk, they just don't allow that user type for their integration setup for whatever reason. And it's kind of a pain in the ass. Secondly, you have to assign permissions a little bit differently with this license. So you can't even use the system admin profile. It's just not allowed. And it has its own default profile, which is more or less read-only for a lot of standard objects. And there's a little bit of stuff that you need to go in and personalize this. Now, you should be personalizing all of your integrations for their own security, ideally, but we understand that that might not be optimal. And finally, it's API only. So if you want to log in and click on anything, that's a big no-no. Now, all that to say, these are a fraction of the cost of regular licenses. Like, I think they're like $10 a month per user. Like, it's like a tenth of the cost of normal licensing. So it's a huge, huge savings, and it makes it more practical to do a lot of integrations, right? So let's say you have 10 integrations. Well, you have 5 free users and 5 additional users. It's $50 per month per user, or $50 per month. It's not a huge add. Most CFOs won't get too crazy with that. And so it becomes a lot more practical. This hopefully appeases a trash panda or two. And that's important because our next item is a bit pricey. We'll talk about that next. All right, so now we've gotten to everyone's favorite topic, event logs. Okay, well, maybe not everyone's favorite topic, but it is very important for this last segment that we have to go over. This is the most granular view that you're going to be able to see and probably the most important diagnostic tool in the set of tools that we've shown you today. All right, so let me go ahead and grab the old laptop here once more, and I'll go ahead and show you exactly where it is and what's going on. So we are going to, again, head over to setup, our favorite place. And on the left-hand side there in the quick find, we're going to type in event and go to event monitoring settings. So the first thing you need to do is turn on event monitoring once you've purchased it. This is pretty important because this is where we're going to go find all the event logs that we have. All right, so now you're going to go over the event log file browser. And so you're going to pick different dates and you're going to pick different types. But the most important type is that API type, because that API type is what's going to show us what our API limits and API logs are going to be. And that's pretty much it. That's the first part that you want there. And so that's how you get them set up. And then from there, we'll talk a little bit more about how you drill down into those. Okay, so once you've downloaded those files, they're going to be CSVs. And in each row, you can see who hit that API, what application they hit it with, and it really gives you a very granular level detail exactly what's going on. But that comes at a price. It is not cheap. So there are some event logins that every organization gets if you're an enterprise or above, but there's a specific package called event monitoring you buy that gives you more access to all of these events. And it's steep. Like, it's 10% of your contract normally. So you spend $100,000 a year, it's 10 grand. You spend $1 million a year, it's 100 grand. Like, it's not an easy line item on that bill. But if it's worth it for you, because there's a lot of other stuff like security and other reasons to have it, that is definitely the most granular way of doing it. Otherwise, you just gotta like shut different integrations down temporarily and pause those from working to see which ones are going to eat up those limits. And that is not a fun exercise, but probably more common because not everyone pays for event monitoring. Well, now that you have all of these tools, I hope that we can get all of those systems in line. You can keep your API limits in check and keep Salesforce from trying to charge you more money. It's basically what we're trying to do here. It is important though that you do follow those in order because every single one will help the next one. So please try to keep that in mind when you're watching this video, but we hope you found it helpful and good luck. Well, thanks again for watching the video. I hope all that was helpful. We really try to make these engaging and hopefully this one will save you money, which is always our goal. Let us know what you think. API limits suck. If you got good horror stories, please put them in the comments. We always like that. You know, like, subscribe if you want to hear more of these things. Also, if you have any future video ideas, please tell us. We love to hear from everybody. But until next time, have a good one.